Hi, this is welcome to the Dr. Paul Show. I have the really honor to have a patient of mine who I've known for many years, Spencer, and I had him come in because he has a great story to tell. And how long have you been a patient now? How many years?
16.
16 years. So why don't you tell us, tell us your story and what led to. I mean, just go back to the beginning if you can, when you first started feeling like things weren't doing well, and maybe your journey, and then before you came and saw me, and how it went since then.
Okay. Well, yeah, my name is Spencer, and so since I was whatever teenager, I liked drugs, and so that's a big part of my story. I was never like a heavy drug user in the sense of, I never went to jail. I always had a job. My life was functional, but I liked to do speed. That was like my drug of choice, and it made me feel normal. And that went on for years, until I was 49 years old, actually. And, I made a decision to get clean, to stop everything. And so I did. And I started.
What led to that decision?
Actually, my son did. He's in a band, and he was out on the road, and he came back strung out again. And I had said, we'll get this, we'll help you. And he told his drug counselor that he goes, you should talk to my dad. He's got a drug problem. And his drug counselor called me, and I said, yeah, I do. And he goes, do you want to do something about it? And I go, I can't. I mean, at 49, I can't picture it. He goes, I'll call you back. And he called me back about 20 minutes later and said, it's a nightclub. Now it's called the Observatory, but it used to be the Galaxy in Santa Ana. He goes, be at the Galaxy at 5:30 p.m. tomorrow. There's a meeting there. And so I went, and that was the beginning of my journey. I've been going to meetings ever since. But the first, I think I had maybe 8 or 9 months clean, sober, before I came to see you. Brandon was already coming to see you because he used to be his pediatric physician.
Right.
So he'd been your patient for a long time.
Since he was a young kid, actually.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I know that you had helped him immensely. So I wasn't feeling right. Like, I know that I had, done a lot of damage, I guess, to my mind or whatever. My body physically was okay, but I wasn't engaging. Things were difficult. It was very difficult. And I didn't want to ever get high again. I was deathly afraid, and I still am to this day. So Brandon goes, why don't you go see Dr. Corona? He, specializes in addiction treatment. It's like one of the things he does. And see what he can do for you. And so I came in to see you, and we discussed it. I think it's the first time I was ever 100% honest with a doctor. Because I see my whatever regular doctors, and I would never tell them, oh yeah, by the way, I do speed, or oh yeah, this is what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. But I came and saw you, and I told you exactly what was going on. And you said, I'm pretty sure I can help you. And so you prescribed some medications, and it made a huge difference. Like, the difference was night and day. But I still wasn't, I guess, where I wanted to be. Because although I wasn't, my depression was gone, a lot of my worry was gone, but my interaction with people and my engagement in life was not good. It still wasn't there. So you prescribed me another medication, and I've been on the same medications. I've dropped the dosages, but for that since then, and I live a normal life. Like, I don't ever think about getting high. I don't ever think about drinking. I continue to go to meetings all the time. I actually do a Zoom meeting every day. It's a men's stag meeting, and although it's an AA meeting, everyone in the meeting is an ex-junkie, or but alcohol ultimately took them out after they got clean.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people think, oh, I'm not doing drugs anymore, I'll drink. And it just doesn't work. Like if you were like me, you either can't do it or you're gonna do it and die.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 64 now, and because of my age, fortunately I'm healthy. I never got hepatitis, but I've watched a dozen people from my era of punk rock music die of complications from hepatitis.
B or C or?
I guess whatever the worst one is it Hep C? Yeah, Hep C.
Yeah.
And out of like 60 people I know that had it, probably 20 of them or 30 of them did the interferon treatment, a year-long of misery, and now they're good.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Harvoni, I think, came out, and a bunch of them were fortunate enough to be able to do that because it's like so expensive, right?
Right.
And they're good. The ones that didn't do that, they died. And out of all those people, out of that dozen, 6 of them died sober. They actually had multiple years. Mm-hmm. Some of them 20. One of them I think had 36 years when they died.
Yeah, liver failure.
Yes.
Yeah.
They did dialysis, the whole bit.
Mm-hmm.
And but they never got high. Like it's like ride or die when you get to the point. Again, like my life was good as long as I had my drugs. I functioned perfectly. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't doing a lot. I did a little bit, and nothing like my peers. But when I got clean, they said, the only thing you have to change, Spencer, is everything. Mm-hmm. And I was prepared to do that. Like, I didn't want to die. I surely didn't want to die alone. I didn't want to leave my son, an orphan, although he, has a stepfather and his mom. But I couldn't do it. I didn't want to hurt people. Mm-hmm. When you're an addict, you think you're only hurting yourself. And it took me getting clean to realize all the damage I was doing. And it's given me the opportunity to live 2 lives. I lived a first life that I completely ruined, for the most part. Mm-hmm. Who knows where I would have been if that wasn't part of my story, right? And then a second life where I get to fix all that. I get to make amends. Not say, oh, I'm sorry. I get to say, what can I do to make this better? Mm-hmm. And it's given me that opportunity. And so now, going from being a selfish, self-centered, not kind person, now I'm more selfless. Like, I want to help other people. I want to be of service. I'm not the first thing I think about in the morning. If I am depressed, I have a whole group of men mm-hmm. that I can talk to. Mm-hmm. And I have a great doctor that's helped me. Mm-hmm. Like, I honestly can say that I wouldn't be where I am without your assistance. I think you put faith and trust in me, and being a doctor, you only know what I say, mm-hmm. but you talk to me, and I think you know me well enough to know that I'm being truthful. The only thing I want out of life now is to be happy and to be helpful. Mm-hmm. And, because I was able to do this, because I was able to stay clean, I met a woman, and she's a Chinese national. Mm-hmm. And I've had the good fortune to get married in China, mm-hmm. go to China 3 times, a month long each time. Mm-hmm. And we're traveling all over the place. Like, I never traveled. I didn't travel because smuggling drugs anywhere is a nightmare. Mm. And B, what if I run out? What am I going to do? And that's where my life was. As long as I had what I needed, I was okay. But when it ran out, all bets are off. Mm-hmm. And the last probably 10 years of my using was miserable. but I wouldn't.
Were you injecting or snorting?
No,
You know?
I snorted it.
Okay.
I never smoked it, never injected it. I didn't never inject it because I know I have a way addictive personality.
Mm-hmm.
I never did heroin because I knew I would die.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just a fact.
Yeah.
And I watched friends of mine that did it, smoke it and shoot it and go to prison. And I did not want to go to prison. I'm not cut out for that.
Mm-hmm.
So, like to give, like, and when I've discussed it with you before, but an idea is like a friend of mine would buy a 16th of speed, and he would do it in a day.
Mm-hmm.
That same amount would last me a month because I didn't do a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
I did enough to make me feel normal. But just like heroin, when I didn't have it, I didn't have withdrawals like you have with heroin
Mm-hmm.
or with an opiate, but my engagement in life was null.
Kind of all over the place.
Well, it was either all over the place or nothing.
Right.
And if I did too much, I knew it,
Mm-hmm.
and it was not good. Like, I knew I was self-medicating, which I think most drug addicts do.
Mm-hmm.
But not to the point where I was staying up for days or of my drug addict friends, I was always the most trustworthy.
Mm-hmm.
Which, it's like saying, all my bank robber friends, I'm the most trustworthy bank robber. It's like not a good thing.
I only drive the getaway car.
Right, exactly. I'm still part of the deal. So I stayed away from, I thought, the things that would really take me down.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't, I guess I always, I was raised in a good house. My parents were married till they died, not from a broken home. I never got high because I was depressed. I got high because I liked it. And that was the whole reason that I never wanted to quit.
Mm-hmm.
I thought my life is going to be awful. I couldn't have been more wrong. Clearly, my life is. I'm an artist and a free thinker and a voracious reader, and have an imagination like a crazy imagination, and I could not imagine how my life is now.
Mm.
I would have definitely sold myself short because I would have never got married to a Chinese person. My dad was in World War II and in Korea. He fought the Chinese. I had this Western view of what China would be like, until I went there and saw that really the difference between China and the U.S. is everyone in China is Chinese.
No diversity over there.
Very little.
Yeah.
But, you can buy stuff everywhere. There's not like people marching down, like it's
Right.
Very modern and also very old in areas.
Mm-hmm.
And the people are super friendly and they're kind. Just all the signs are in Chinese and everyone speaks Chinese.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of people in China that speak English.
Mm-hmm.
They taught it in school up to COVID, and then they stopped. That stopped being something that you could do in like grade school.
Mm-hmm.
But I met my niece when we got married. When I got married, we went to Shanghai, where some of her family, my wife's family, lives. And I met my niece, and she was 4, and she spoke Cantonese, traditional Chinese, and English, and she could write in all 3, and read all 3. And
4 years old. Wow.
She was amazing. I mean, the most amazing little girl. I got some pictures with her. And she was adorable. And the day that we left, she dressed in a traditional Chinese outfit, like a costume, it was like the cutest thing in the world, but she was so smart. And like after COVID, they stopped doing English. You know,
What's the reasoning there, I wonder?
Politics, I'm sure. Like it's simple as that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the teachers were American expatriates, and they ran into a situation, and they couldn't get their work visas re-upped. I know that, and I think that was the main thing. But again, like had I not got clean, had I not trusted you, because it took a lot of trust in me to come to you and believe that you could help me. But I saw it in my son. You know, completely different situations, but I saw the difference in him. And I wanted that. And I trusted you, and you came through 100%. Maybe even more than that, really, because it's rough. It's rough to be an addict and not use. That's what I'm supposed to do, and I don't, right? One of the things that you hear in meetings, and like I don't share in meetings that I take my Wellbutrin or my Zymbalta. I don't say any of that unless somebody in a meeting talks about that, and their sponsors say you shouldn't do that. You know, you're not clean, and I would pull the person aside after the meeting and say, hey, this is what's going on with me. I go, unless your sponsor's an MD, PhD, and specializes in addiction treatment, I wouldn't listen to what they say.
You're not there for medical advice.
Yeah, exactly. And you're not there for legal advice,
Right.
and you're not there for financial advice. It says that in the literature.
Right.
You know, you go to a doctor for medical reasons. So I think, and I know that I'm clean because I'm not using street drugs, first off, and because I'm not, if I don't have my medication, I'm not going to die. I'm not going to flip out. I know that I'll be okay because none of it is I don't know, maybe it's habit forming, but I've gone for months without it and been fine.
That's not habit forming.
Yeah. So I've never run into an issue. I go to China, you know, I've been to Puerto Rico, I've been to Mexico, I've been to quite a few places, and I've never had the inspection stop me because I have prescription medication. You know, it's just that's not something that happens. I've never even thought about it. Like, oh no, I need to. Like, I can get in a car and go anywhere I want. I can get on a plane and fly anywhere I want because I've got my life in order. But I know, I'm smart enough to know that I can't do it by myself. And even with meetings and sponsors and steps, that wasn't enough for me. For some it might be, but for me it wasn't, because I didn't feel engaged in life. And I didn't get clean to be miserable. You know, that's, if my life was better when I was using, that's what I would do. Again, like I came to see you and you explained to me, Spencer, this is, I have other patients in a situation like you, and this is why you feel this way. This is what we can do to get your brain working properly. And I followed your direction, and it worked. And like, I mean, I could sum this interview up in that. It's like, I saw Dr. Corona, he listened to what I have to say and made a decision to help me because you knew that you could. Like, I know in my heart, if I would have come to you and said, this is, you would have said, you know what, I can't help you. I can't imagine the situation that a person that you couldn't help. Like, I can't picture that. And I've sent people to you because I trust you. I trust that you're gonna, the bottom line is you know what you're doing. And, so I put faith in you.
As long as people are willing to listen and keep an open mind, because I listen to the stories, but as long as people are just, and again, a lot of times I have to dispel a lot of misinformation out there about, well, what's the difference if I'm on medications? Aren't I addicted to those? And what's the difference? Why don't I just do street drugs? And if I don't, that's a huge problem out there. A lot of people think that. Especially men in particular struggle with this and think it's not macho or some reason. And I'm a man. I should be able to do it on my own, and it's not true.
No, it's not. I'm in enough touch with my feminine side to know that I'm killing myself. And like they say, you can, what is it? Save face or save your ass. Like, I would rather save my ass. And that's what I did. And again, I have not once felt high ever since I got clean. And the medication just made me feel normal. As normal as I'm ever going to feel. Because I did a lot of drugs over the years and did damage. Obviously, there's no way that it wouldn't damage my brain. But I know the brain has plasticity?
Neuroplasticity, yeah.
So I know that it could it'll repair itself. And it has. I'm happy. And I see people, I know people that have been in the program for decades that aren't remotely happy. And I don't know why that is.
Well, they're sober, but they're not treated, and then or they fall into the illusion, or they hear from other people in the program that, you got to stay clean from everything. You can't go see a doctor. You can't get medication. So these are people that, are unhappy sober people.
Yeah.
When they don't have to be. They can be happy, and you can have both, actually.
Right.
It doesn't have to be one or the other.
Right. And that was my goal. Yeah. It's like, I want to be happy. And whenever I'm in a situation and I hear a person new or whatever the case may be, talk about that and, share in a meeting that, well, my sponsor said I can't do this and I can't do that, and I always pull them aside. And it depends on the meeting. I might straight up crosstalk, not like to the person, but share my experience, strength and hope, what I've done. My close friends know exactly what's going on with me. My sponsor definitely knows what's going on with me. And other people don't need to know. But if they ever ask me, I wouldn't hesitate to tell them.
Right.
Because I know my truth. And my truth, I take medication to keep myself balanced. If it made me feel high, I would come to you and say, Dr. Corona, I don't feel right. And you would make an adjustment. You would tell me what to do. And since I got clean, I learned to follow a doctor's directions. Before that, I didn't. Before that, I didn't go to the doctor because I didn't want to, what if they take a blood test? All these things that you have to cover up when you're not clean. The freedom is mind-blowing. I have such freedom I didn't have before. I thought I did, but I wasn't in my right mind, I guess is how to put it. And because I had a job always and had insurance and wasn't getting arrested and had friends, I really didn't think I had a problem until I really saw, oh boy, you have a problem. And fortunately, I live in Southern California. I have a son that had been coming to you when he was as his regular doctor. You know, I used to believe in coincidence and things like that. Now I just think things happen for a reason, and I happen to be at the right place at the right time. And you know, like, I don't believe. I guess I'm agnostic more than a true believer, but I know that I'm not my higher power, and I know that I am so grateful of where I live and and who I was able to come to, because and my regular doctor knows my situation. She knows all about me because I've told her. Like right when I got a new doctor with my medical insurance, told her what's going on, so she knows, and it's never a question. When I go to the dentist, I say, you know what, I'm a drug addict in recovery. You know, unless you think I need some pain medication after, you know, you pull a tooth or whatever, I'm fine. You know, I'll take aspirin. Now, if I got major surgery, I would follow the doctor's direction with the medication. That's a big fear for an addict, is surgery. And I've seen a lot of people end up going out, and with what's going on today with the drugs on the street, it's so dangerous. Yeah. And again, I'm fortunate.
It's all fentanyl nowadays.
Yeah. And I'm so fortunate that I've been in this program for like 16 years. But I have friends that are my age that got in at 16. Like, they knew that they had a problem at 16, which blows my mind because I think that's when I first smoked pot, when I was 16. And they have, like, 45 years. And it blows my mind. And they're, life happens no matter what. But I have tools to deal with it. And I have a doctor that helps me. And, I have the proper medication to keep myself so I feel normal. And that's the whole thing. That's all we want, I think, as a human being.
Is there any family history of addiction?
On my mom's side, there's quite a few alcoholics. I would say 2 of my mom's brothers died of complications from alcoholism. My mom drank, but I never saw her drunk. But on her side of the family, there was quite a few of the men.
Anyone with ADD that you know of? Your mom or dad?
I don't think so, but that is. See, my mom was born in 24. My dad was born in 22, and so that such a different generation that was not a thing. But I know that. So first grade I had to do twice. 3rd grade I had to do twice. I never engaged in school at all, except in art classes. I was good, but it was what I liked. After I got clean, I took some college classes and I aced them because I was paying attention and I got it where I didn't before. So I'm pretty sure that I had that, and my drug of choice being speed, I never got high from it. Like, I didn't get all jittery or like weird. I got focused, but I slept.
You felt calm.
I felt calm.
Yeah.
I felt engaging.
Right.
But I just did a little bit. I would never do too much.
Right.
And I didn't want to go to prison. I didn't, so I had just a couple friends that did it, but I didn't hang out with them. My friends were actually normies. Most of my friends were normies or drinkers. And then I had friends that were full-on drug addicts, like junkies. And they're all clean, or they're dead. They didn't have the good fortune to end up in prison. They went to prison, but they died on the street, all of them. The ones that did die and the ones that didn't are in the program.
Mm-hmm.
Only a couple of them are able to do it on their own, and they're still clean. And I don't think that they were ever really addicts. I mean, I believe that, obviously willpower alone won't do it. You need help.
Mm-hmm.
And the program alone and the steps were a huge thing, but that wasn't all I needed. I needed other help, and again, I was able to come to you.
Several points of what you said. I mean, self-medicating is typical with addiction. People are either self-medicating depression, anxiety, bipolar, ADD, etc. And then you mentioned also I call the bargaining of addiction. It's like, well, I know I'm an alcoholic, but I'll just have a couple beers and then stop, or I'll just have, well, come on. I mean, it's an open bar at a wedding. I mean, I can't, I have to,
Right.
I can't, I mean, it's free booze. I mean, come on, please, I have, and so that's the bargaining part. Or, okay, well, I'm not doing speed anymore, but I can drink a lot then. Or, and there's a lot of people in AA and that still cannot give up cigarettes.
Right.
Because nicotine is the most difficult of all of them to give up, right up there with heroin and
Right.
all that, so, but that's why, and a lot of people cross addict and they switch from drugs or alcohol to gambling or sexual addictions, porn addictions, whatever, other things, extreme sports, extreme, like, high risk activities,
Right.
And there's family history is almost universal with with addiction, because but it's gonna be hard to pick that out in our parents and grandparents, because he didn't really talk about those things back then, and
Right.
so they don't really know. But you can tell by alcoholism back then. They didn't have the hard drugs back then, so as far as with you. See, the medications, you're on are basic ones. I have you on Cymbalta and Wellbutrin, so that takes care of the anxiety and the depression part. But then I added something. You're also on an ADD medication, Vyvanse.
Yeah.
So Vyvanse is a very popular, really good ADD medication. Now, this can be a little bit controversial. People might think, well, that doesn't sound right. If you have someone who has a speed addiction in the past, you can't put them on speed, because aren't they going to just get addicted to that? I disagree with that. I mean, I think there are some people you have to be careful with. But with your history, when you told me when you did it, you felt calm and relaxed. That's ADD, because a stimulant will do that. And if someone doesn't have ADD, that you're going to get jacked up and speedy and kind of get manic and psychotic, and and there's some people that's what they get with speed. They get psychotic, and they end up in the hospital sometimes and get in trouble. Or end up in jail because they go out and do crazy things, and then they get hauled in, and or they go robbery, or they go do crime, and they steal and all that. So with you, it was appropriate, I felt, and it ended up that I totally was right about that. Because you've been maintained on the same dose, no change of anything, and you've been fine. The other hint with me was when you say I had to do 2 grades of first grade, 2 grades of third grade. That was ADD.
Yeah.
That's ADD. Which starts at a young age too. So that's also a hint, and that you were you were self-medicating anxiety and depression, but you're also self-medicating your ADD. And so I think you're on 3 things, very basic things that
Right.
You've been on the same doses and everything for many years now, and you've been doing really, really, really well. So. But those are some of the points of that I wanted to point out, is that, because when I hear this, someone coming in and say, I had a person not long ago, and he came in and said, well, I just wanted you to know right off the bat, my sponsor advises that I don't take medications. And I looked at him and I said, okay, now who is your sponsor, and tell me about his training and expertise in this field. What did he have his doctorate in? he looked at me. He goes, "No, I don't think he does. He's a plumber." He goes, "Oh, okay. So he's a really smart guy." Joe, his name is Joe. Okay, and I'm thinking to myself, I didn't say it. I said, okay, Joe, the really smart plumber, is advising you medically.
Right.
And I didn't say it that way to defend him, but I kind of made to think like, that's fine what Joe thinks, but that's his opinion, and I might have a different opinion. Let me explain to you why I think Joe is wrong. And it ended up he understood, he was treated. And I told him, I said, well, if you talk to Joe, just tell him that, I want to try this, and and when I had him follow up, he said, well, Joe seems to think I'm doing pretty well. So Joe said, okay, he's okay with it now. I was like, oh, good, Joe's fine with me. What a relief! Joe, I have Joe's approval now.
But in the sense of being a sponsor and have sponsees, it's important that your sponsor approves of what's going on. But the thing is a sponsor, you're not married to him. If your sponsor gives you bad advice, you find another one. Just like if you go to a doctor,
right,
and you get bad advice, you're going to go to a different doctor. Or if you're diagnosed with cancer, you want to maybe see a couple doctors and make sure that, because that's a heavy thing, that it's right. And the cross addiction thing and the bargaining, that is all part of it. Like I said, I have many friends that go to my Zoom meeting that were heroin addicts. They got clean, and ultimately alcohol. They started drinking, and alcohol took them, their life took a dump so fast that they had to do something. They knew they couldn't do heroin, and now they knew they couldn't drink. What do I do?
Right.
And it's the sad thing is people that don't get this opportunity, they kill themselves, like suicide.
Yeah. Very common. Yeah, well, at least it's not meth, it's not heroin, it's not fentanyl, it's just alcohol.
Right.
But see, there are people, of course, there are many, many people who can social drink, have a beer or two and stop. A lot of people like that,
right.
Normies that don't take it to that next level. But when you have an addiction history, it's very difficult, and I have a guy who struggles with alcohol, and every visit, it's like he keeps bargaining with me. And he goes, well, my wife and I are going to vacation to Hawaii. I'm going to be in Hawaii, so I got to drink when I'm in Hawaii. I go, why do you have to drink in Hawaii? Well, I'm in Hawaii. I'm going to be relaxing by the pool. I have to have a Mai Tai or whatever. And it's and so he came back from the trip, and the next visit, how did it go? He goes, yeah, I got way too drunk on my trip. I didn't even enjoy it because I drank way too much. And, and so, so the fact that he didn't think he could have fun without drinking, and so, but then when you learn that you can actually be sober and still have fun.
Yes. Way more fun.
What a concept.
Yeah, I actually have way more fun. I remember everything. It's super sad to think of all the stuff that I did, musically over the years that I don't remember because I drank too much. But I can say, fortunately, alcohol wasn't the final nail, but I know it would be. I know that if I drank alcohol, I would test positive for drugs instantly, because that's what would happen, and it's just not worth it. Being drunk is not good. It's not fun, and having that crutch is awful. And quitting drinking, if you're a heavy alcoholic, is just as bad as quitting benzos. You could have a seizure. That's physical detoxing. It's
right.
I've seen people, I think, is it a grand mal seizure? Just eyes roll up, foaming, just dropping. I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah. You can die from that.
Right. Scared. It's scared the hell out of me in a meeting. And I was like, what do we, I don't know what to do.
911.
Yeah, well, we did that, obviously, but it's what do you do in the meantime? Is he having an epileptic, like,
Well, no, you can't do CPR is not going to
yeah,
help, you know.
or
It's not a
like, is he
cardiac
going to
issue.
swallow his tongue? Like,
Right.
everyone's like, I go, just give him room. Call 911, you know?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
somebody had to grab a hold of it
Right.
because it was scary.
Yeah.
And I don't want to have to go through that.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be, like it says here, you know, live for today. I do. I live for today, for
Right.
this very moment, always. I'm not thinking too much about what's going to happen tomorrow because there's no way to know about it.
Right.
And I look at my past rarely, you know? I don't really look at the good or the bad because it's already happened.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take from it so that I don't repeat a mistake because, you know, that's the definition of insanity.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm as sane as I'm going to get probably
Mm-hmm.
because of my past.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, you know, it's one of the key features in my life is that I understand that I have a problem. But I also understand there's a solution. And without those two factors, I'm hopeless.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, like it says, hope for tomorrow. I want to have hope. But I read in one of the books I read, one of my military science books, where the guy says, hope is a bad strategy. And I thought, that's true. Like, you got to have, there's got to be footwork involved.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I could hope that I'm not going to run out of gas, or I could stop at the gas station and put gas in my car.
You could look at if it's close to empty, you
Yeah,
probably want to do
exactly, or
something.
the light comes on, right? Like that's another one of my friends said, you know, the steps, there's 2 steps, shortcomings and character defects. And he goes, shortcomings are getting a flat tire, and character defect is driving on the flat tire. And I always,
good.
yeah,
I
I
like
always
that.
love that, you know?
That's good.
I love these little sayings,
Oh, I
but
love those, yeah.
it took 2 things to get me to where I am at in life, and I'm happy. You know, I'm healthy. I go skateboarding. You know, I'm going to go to Europe and play music.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh, by the way, tell him you're he's a singer in a punk rock band. What's the name of your band?
it's called Shattered Faith.
Shattered Faith?
Yeah, it's old,
Yeah.
just like me. But I'm
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I'm not. You're still a kid.
I'm 60. I'll be 62 in a couple months.
You're kidding me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I would have never thought
right
that.
behind you.
I thought you were maybe in your 40s.
No,
Wow, you're looking
I'm
good.
getting older.
You're looking good, Dr. Cronin. That's amazing.
Thanks.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm fortunate that I'm still alive.
Mm-hmm.
I should be dead. And I realize that living in the present is, you know, they say it's a gift, or all these silly sayings, but they're all true. And I know that I couldn't do it by myself, and you've been a huge part of it. And I'm blessed.
You know, that's why I love doing it. And what led me, you know, when I saw your son Brandon when he was younger, I was, you know, still doing family medicine back then. In the first decade of my practice, I was a family doctor, but I was always really interested in psychiatry and mood, and when I started seeing the role of antidepressants and how they changed people, and I just thought, this is pretty remarkable. And then I started getting a good feeling, and then I started my practice got so busy doing this that I was just getting way too busy, and I was getting home way too many hours at work, and then I made a decision. I thought, you know, I just can't do it all anymore. I have to focus on what I think I need to do, and I knew I needed to follow this, and because I felt that there was I can make a bigger difference in people's lives doing this than being a family doctor.
Right.
And being a family doctor is great. I mean, I love doing it, and I miss part of it. You know, miss the interactions with families and kids and all that. But I knew that my calling was to help people. And as a doctor, we go into being a doctor. We don't go into it for money. Trust me, I have many of my patients who make way more than I do. who had way less education than I did.
Right.
It's not, we don't do it for the money. We do it, because we want to help. As corny as that sounds, we do it because we want to help people. And I thought that there's no greater way to help people than this field of medicine.
Right.
And I ended up, I was right. I never went back on my decision. I knew that, and that's what led me, starting writing, is because I knew then in the early 2000s, it was like I knew I had to start writing and write books in order to, document everything I was seeing.
And you explain stuff in layman terms.
Yeah.
That like a person like me can understand. That's huge.
I found that really helpful that's why I draw people who watch the show, you see my diagrams, and I find that that's helpful, because I think a lot of people say, here, take this pill, and then they're like, why am I taking this pill? And I think if I draw diagrams, explain to people exactly what these pills are doing, it makes more sense.
Yeah.
And it makes sense that, look, I'm trying to normalize your body chemistry. I'm not trying to give you something addictive. I'm trying to normalize what's there, and what's going on there is not normal right now.
Right.
And it's not your fault. It's not normal. That you can't help. It's not normal. But these medications will make you normal, and that's a concept that's very difficult to people to understand. And so, but drawing the diagrams and explaining, and then when they come back, I'll go back and say, well, see, I was wrong here. I'm going to change this to this. I'm going to add this, and I explain with the diagrams what I'm doing, and then at the ending, I say, well, I think this is going the right way, and that's going the right way, and once I explain that, and people realize that that's what true normality feels like. Normal is feeling happy when you should be happy, sad when you should feel sad.
Right.
And just be living a normal life, not letting stress affect you too much, being able to handle things without self-medicating.
Right.
And so, and medicating in a proper way prevents the self-medicating.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I feel everything better,
Mm-hmm.
and good, bad, indifferent.
Yeah.
Where before I didn't really care
Right.
if I did or didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Caring's important.
Yeah.
To be a human being, I think.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming in. I really appreciate it. You've been a dear patient of mine for years, and I really am happy that you told your story.
Right on. Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
You're welcome.
Right. So in Spencer's case, he basically, when I first saw him, it was pretty simple, anxiety and depression. So, with me, typically, SNRI, so serotonin and norepinephrine reuptake inhibitor, meaning it attaches to those sites, blocks the reuptake, forces those chemicals to connect properly. Wellbutrin, norepinephrine, and a little bit of dopamine, that works on the dopamine site mostly, and that gets those moving forward. So he was feeling better on that combination, but I knew that from his history and with his so again with the drug addiction history, with the history of addiction to speed, some may say, like, you shouldn't put him on a stimulant, but again, during the interview, I disagree. Especially in his case, because he was really, I could just tell that he was really done with drugs. He was really comfortable in his sobriety. But to really get him feeling better, he needed to treat his ADD. So I put him on Vyvanse. And so as a stimulant, what it's doing is basically it's working mostly on dopamine and a little bit on norepinephrine. So it really, as a stimulant, it just gets those going even faster and better. So it really helps these chemicals connect properly. It also does a little bit attaching to the sites and stopping the backflow a little bit. But really, with him, it's the three chemicals: serotonin, norepinephrine, dopamine. Those are the three imbalances that were happening, and that's why I took those three combination with him to get him just on the perfect combo.